Earlier this week, we saw the federal government commit $1 billion in funding over 5 years. One of the services that is making a real difference is Lou's Place. It's a women's refuge in southern Sydney. It's in the suburb of Redfern, and for 25 years it's been a safe haven for those who have nowhere else to go. Joining me live now is the General Manager of Lou's Place, Amanda Greaney. Amanda, thank you for your time. How have you viewed people like me and politicians talking about a situation you know so well for the last couple of weeks?
Look, it's really sad circumstances under which we are in a place where, we've got all this media attention and we're having to talk about it. I'm so disheartened that this is what it's taken to get that media coverage and to get, the country hopefully taking some action, because we're not quite sure yet whether that's going to be the case. But in saying that, the other side is that I'm really glad the conversations are happening and that we're able to. So now it just depends on if the government will listen and actually take some action, because it's needed, and it's been needed for a long, long time.
Yeah, it certainly has, Amanda. What do you need? I mean, what could they announce today that would help you help women tomorrow?
They need to fund services properly. I know lots of people have said that, and I know the Prime Minister has said we've got all of, we're going to roll out all of this, this money, but it's not enough. And the promises that were made haven't been fulfilled.
Well, Amanda, tell me what you would do with this money and how much you would need. Because when we say, roll out services, I think a lot of people don't know, what that means, to be honest.
Yeah. So just for example, I think you need to put some money behind it, and that looks like a whole different lot of things. You need to fund the services that are already doing an amazing job, fund them well enough so that give them additional staff. That was promised. There was promised an increase in funding so that services could have additional staff so that they can actually support more women. The services are doing a great job, but at the moment, very often, there's literally nowhere that they're being turned away. Lou's Place, for example, doesn't get any funding. Now, I do want to just clarify here that we don't provide overnight beds, so we're not a refuge in the typical sense of the word, but we are a drop-in centre for women to come to and do. We have 40 plus women come here a day, come here to get safety, to link in with other services, to access support. And that means that support can be anywhere from joining our groups, and learning from other survivors, women that are experiencing domestic violence themselves or have survived and got away from the domestic violence, and also long-term extended case management. So it might mean supporting them to get apprehended violence orders, going to court with them, sometimes having to flee to other states and going to refuges and, right across the country, changing names, all of that sort of activity. And so the services that are out there are great. They're doing amazing jobs, but there's not enough. There's not enough staff. And there needs to be new services or new money. And I would consider, interestingly enough, even though we've been around for 25 years, we're effectively the new money I'm talking about, because we don't get any government funding, and we've been asking for that. And I'm told that lots of services are already funded, that and that we don't need any more. And clearly we do. And not just that. So as well as the services, when people do leave and they end up, in refuges and they've got to give up their whole life to be safe and free of violence, then there's no homes for them to move into. There's no transitional accommodation for them to move into. So, or not sufficient transitional accommodation. So oftentimes they have no choice but to return home because of that. We work with a lot of women who are living in cars because they've escaped domestic violence and they can't get into refuges because they're full.
Wow, Amanda, it is a much bigger problem than I think most of us realised. We thank you for taking us through it this morning. We wish you all the best and thanks for your work so far. We'll keep in touch.